In the darkest corner of the loud city shelter sat an old cat that nobody ever wanted to adopt. Families walked past his cage choosing tiny kittens instead of the cat was a torn air and tired. The shelter workers put a red mark on his file because he had been there for too many. Outside the rain poured down reflecting the sadness inside the heart of the cat named Barnaby the Lonely. A young girl with a prosthetic leg walked into the shelter looking for a friend who understood pain. She stopped right in front of Barnaby's cage and he stood up for the first time in weeks. Her father tried to show her a fluffy white kitten, but she only had eyes for old Barnaby. They signed the papers and the shelter workers could not believe the miracle that was finally happening today. Barnaby sat in his carrier looking at the world outside wondering where his new life would take him. The door opened to a warm house filled with the smell of vanilla and fresh soft lavender flowers. Instead of dry kibble, he was given a bowl of warm salmon and his eyes widened in surprise. He followed the girl into her room and saw a soft velvet bed made just for his size. The girl struggled to walk, but Barnaby stayed by her side, acting like a furry little brave guardian. When the girl had nightmares, the cat would purr loudly on her chest until she fell asleep again. Doctors noticed the girl was getting stronger and they called the cat her secret miracle of daily therapy. Barnaby learned to fetch the girl's crutches when she needed to get up from the soft brown sofa. They spent hours in the garden where Barnaby chased away the squirrels that tried to steal bird seeds. Neighbors started visiting just to see the cat that had saved the girl from her deep dark sadness. A heavy snowstorm hit, but they were safe inside sharing a blanket by the hot crackling stone fireplace. The father took a photo of them and posted it online not knowing it would change their lives. Reporters came to the house to tell the story of the cat that nobody wanted but everyone needed. People started adopting older cats from the shelter because of Barnaby's amazing and very famous viral story. On the one-year anniversary of his adoption, Barnaby received a huge cake made of delicious tuna fish. One day the girl walked without her crutches for 10 feet following Barnaby toward the bright kitchen door. Two broken souls had found each other and created a miracle that the whole world was now watching. The girl took Barnaby to her school for show and tell, and every student was moved by them. They developed a special way of communicating with small blinks and tiny head tilts that only they understood. Barnaby felt the sand between his paws for the first time and watched the giant ocean waves crash. One night Barnaby heard a cry and led the father to a tiny kitten trapped in the wall. Barnaby showed the new kitten where the best sleeping spots were and shared his own favorite blue bowl. Every morning started with a synchronized stretch that made the whole family laugh at their very cute timing. When the power went out during a storm, Barnaby's warm fur kept the girl's legs from feeling cold. The local mayor gave Barnaby a medal for being a hero and helping the community value older animals. They started visiting the children's hospital to bring smiles to other kids who were going through hard times. Nurses noticed that patients' heart rates lowered whenever Barnaby sat on their beds and purred very softly. Today, the girl painted a portrait of Barnaby and he accidentally stepped in the blue paint making part. They spent the afternoon in the wooden tree house watching the birds and dreaming of many more adventures. A famous pet magazine featured Barnaby on the cover with the title "The Miracle Cat of the Year." They traveled to a big city by plane, and Barnaby was the most well-behaved passenger on the flight. Jumping into a pile of red and orange leaves, Barnaby looked like a kitten again for a moment. Barnaby seemed to know when someone was sad and would sit by them in total silent, supportive peace. The girl got a new advanced leg, and the first thing she did was walk to hug Barnaby. On a hot day, they shared a tiny bit of vanilla ice cream and both got brain freeze. Camping in the backyard, they listened to the owls and felt the magic of the dark, starry night. Barnaby's fur turned a bit gray, but his eyes still sparkled with the same love and deep gratitude. They raised thousands of dollars for the shelter where Barnaby was once a lonely and unwanted old cat. The girl's first word after her surgery was a cat's name, and the parents cried with much happiness. Looking out at the white world, they felt lucky to have a warm home and each other's company. Barnaby always watched the mother cook, hoping for a small piece of chicken to fall on the floor. A publisher turned their story into a children's book that taught kids about the beauty of senior pets. Even when the house was loud, Barnaby remained a calm center of peace for the entire busy family. When the girl lost her first tooth, she told Barnaby first and hid it under his soft bed. People started sending letters from all over the world telling how Barnaby had changed their own lives today. They placed a small cat statue in the garden to remind them of the day the miracle first began. Every night ended the same way, with a warm cuddle and a purr that sounded like a song. They walked slowly down the path together to survivors who had found a beautiful and perfect new life. Barnaby was no longer the cat nobody wanted. He was a cat that everyone in the world loved. Their hearts beat in sync, a silent promise that they would always be there for each other forever. Looking back at his life, Barnaby knew that every day in the shelter was worth it for this. Go to your local shelter today and find your own miracle waiting in a lonely and dark corner.